Mo,
That
how you doing?
my favorite builder,
You know,
building things.
I would build it any other person in the world.
So I don't know, what should we call this? A podcast?
CNN disruptor. I don't know.
We don't have a name for it yet, but right now we can say we're two co-founders, Justin, and I would say speaking to several entrepreneurs, right? Over the last quarter, even into this quarter, there's this kind of like liturgy, right? Especially Nigerian builders, people building in the Nigerian ecosystem. You know, what are your thoughts? What do you speak to that?
Yeah, I think I see it too. I sort of agree with your sentiments, the conversations I've had. And the way I see it, for example, is if you're an athlete, for example, and you're preparing for a marathon, even for anything, to be honest, if you're a swimmer, like you sort of know at some point you're going to get tired. And athletes do not train for, so they don't get tired.
True.
They train to be able to push through when they're tired, and that's what pretty much separates good athletes from great athletes. So I think this is a time whereby our ecosystem sort of separate the good entrepreneurs from great entrepreneurs, for example, to see how much capacity and ability they are able to summon during these times of so-called tiredness. And whether you be an entrepreneur out there that is probably going through this mental fatigue, as they might call it, all it literally takes is a decision for you to actually decide that this is how I want my story to be told. This is my decision to win. And that's the first part of the thing. The second part of the thing is I think one common denominator is sort of people feel like they are the only one going through something. Like entrepreneurs tend to feel like the world is against them. And if we sort of study entrepreneurs at every different stages, everyone will tell you the hell they went through. Be it Nike, be it Jobs. I heard Jobs try to sell Apple for 20% for like $3,000 at some point, right? So this is just that time where you sort of need to decide what type of entrepreneur you want to be, good or great.
Awesome. Like, really interesting point. I think one of the things my favorite highlight from this is when it's like it's your decision to win.
Yeah.
It's the point is when you decide. You want to decide now you're going to win.
Exactly.
Irrespective.
Yeah.
I think there's this lane bar they say here, you don't sign.
Yeah, exactly.
You just gotta sign.
You don't sign. And I totally agree with it, because when you close your eyes, do you imagine the possibility of not winning? Like, are you okay with that? And if you're okay with that, then hey, you already have sort of a mentally checked out of the situation. Like, the resolve has to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's what you signed up for. It's what you raised money for. It's what you built for. And these are times where there are serious consequences to sort of not summing up this strength. And I really encourage people to sort of look beyond this current loop and have a longer time frame type of expression and sort of persevere through it. That's what I suggest.
Makes sense. And there was, during our all hands, there was this particular praise you gave about building in Nigeria, for which it seriously resonated with a lot of us, right? Because yes, we are building in Nigeria. I don't know if you want to recite that praise again.
Sure.
Your insight into why it's the best time to build in the Nigerian market and why Nigerian entrepreneurs are going to win.
Sure. I am very bullish on entrepreneurship in Nigeria. I'm very excited to be building in Nigeria, and I feel incredibly honored to be part of those innovators. Like the work we do is important work. And I think when I sort of zone out and I look at the macros, I look at other economies, I look at Egypt, I look at Turkey, and I see that they are going through similar contractions in the economy with their currency and the rest. Even though Egypt, for example, is one of the largest exporters of cars on the continent, the largest exporters of agricultural produces on the continent, and received over $40 billion in aid from the US to sort of help sustain that was how bad things got. Like, Nigeria, with all its challenges, has not needed anybody to give it $40 billion. We are solving our problems from within, which I'm very proud of, that we have that capacity to solve such a complex problem. Reserves are going up, and it might not have trickled down in the micro in the short term, but these things sort of cascade from the macro to the micro. Look at Turkey, for example, that rates are as much as 50% and the largest exporter of cars. So when I just say, like, look, Nigeria's situation is due to market inefficiencies, and just a marginal increase or improvement in these inefficiencies would lead to a multiplier effect in our macros and also our micros. It makes me bullish because these are economies like Egypt and Turkey that have sort of been figured out, sort of structured, and they still are going through these contractions. And I look at economies where entrepreneurship has almost been demonized. Like China, for example, like the rate of entrepreneurship in China has dropped drastically because of policy. Italy, for example, is almost impossible. So I think Nigeria, for all its faults and warts, is still very capitalist and entrepreneurial driven. And as someone that believes in capitalist ideals, I'm really excited to be building an ecosystem that encourages innovation and sort of allows people to try things.
Makes sense. And to speak to that, I remember attending this Endeavor event where they gathered women together. I think the co-founder, she was like, the reason why she's bullish on emerging markets is due to the fact that the highest ROI that Endeavor has gotten hasn't been from the so-called super mature market. It has been from markets that have been termed with volatile currencies like Turkey, like Egypt. So I totally agree with you. To every Nigerian entrepreneur out there, startup founders, you're onto the right thing. Just stick with it. And even to investors that are looking at it, right? To investors looking, Nigeria is still the environment to be bullish on, right? So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the rise and success of Nigeria is inevitable, when you look at the ecosystem. And the leading indicator is because of the people. We have fantastic people. We have people who take their destiny into their own hands, people who learn skills by themselves, who consume YouTube, who, no matter what, you could criticize the educational system, but they are using the resources at their disposals, deepening. We have people, that are sort of investing in themselves. And I sort of feel like the economy has fueled this resilience. And I wouldn't bet against an economy or any country with such fantastic and smart people like Nigeria. And I think just generally speaking, the beautiful thing about emerging markets like Nigeria is that they offer you an opportunity to solve real problems that once solved can transform the lives of people, can sort of make the livelihood of people better. Which is why I encourage people to, invest in Nigeria, I encourage people to build in Nigeria, and I'm excited to be building with Miss Mo in Nigeria.
Oh, high five, Angie. Yeah.